everyone. This is Caroline with the Expat Interviews, Thriving Abroad, where we go all over the globe to bring you amazing people that have decided to up and go to another country and just change their lifestyle. And some of these people are doing really awesome things on the other side of where they lived. And I'm especially excited today because I wanted to bring someone to you who does a very important job in the expat arena, something that we don't get to hear people talk about a lot, but it is very important for most of us expats, especially myself, who had the need to transport my fur baby. So I have the lovely and wonderful Elaine Green from Relocation International. Thank you so much, Elaine, for coming and just giving us a lot of really important information about transporting our loved ones.
You're very welcome.
So first of all, something that's really cool is that you're an expat yourself. Where are you from originally?
I'm originally from the UK, and I'm now in Costa Rica via Singapore. So this is my second international assignment.
Wow, really? So how do you like Costa Rica? I mean, it's quite a difference from living in the UK. The weather is nice all the time.
It's very different. Yeah, it's very different. It's beautiful. It's a phenomenal country. The biodiversity is incredible. Yeah.
Yeah, I lived there for a few years, so I agree with you. So let's get started. I actually moved from Nicaragua to Mexico with my fur baby. And it was really an experience because I had never traveled before with a pet. And, you know, there was documentation that had to be done. Plus, we were in the middle of at that time, we were in a protest, a civil war was going on. So, you know, getting around to get his paperwork and this was really a nightmare. But I wanted you to share, you know, the process because a lot of people do travel with their loved ones. I call them loved ones because they really are. And so is it, first, I guess I want to ask you, is it easy when you use a company like yourself to get your pet from A to B? Does it make it easier to maneuver? Like, for example, if I wanted to go from England to, I don't know, say Africa, does it make it easier as far as getting through all of the red tape to use a service like yours?
Yeah, I think the difficulty is COVID has really changed things. So my business, I'm a little bit different perhaps to other pet relocation companies in that it's very expensive to move your pet. And since COVID has hit, not only have airlines really changed their policies, but also airports and countries have changed their policies. So I'll give you an example. I had to move pets from Singapore to Costa Rica. At the time, we were in the middle of a pandemic and I wanted to move them through Europe. I couldn't do that. And the reason I couldn't do that was because the flights that I was trying to book weren't compatible with the airport, who had completely shut down their pet transport area. So there was no pet hotel. So there was no way of getting those animals through that place that I thought I could get them through. So yeah, so as far as I'm a little bit different, I look at taking dogs as extra luggage instead of booking them as cargo. And doing that way, you save quite a lot of money, but you need to make sure that you've got your export country documentation, you've got your import documentation, you've got all of the, there's a quite a tight time frame to be able to make sure that all of the health regulations are met. So every country that you're leaving has something you have to provide. Every country you're going to has something you have to provide. And with COVID, it's not just making sure that you've got all the documentation, it's making sure you can actually get your pet there, which has been severely restricted.
That's very interesting. Something that I had not thought about, that the COVID has really, you know, put a strain on travelers that need to transport the pets. So if I remember, transporting my baby, he was considered like livestock or something like that coming from Nicaragua. So we had to do special paperwork for him. How do you facilitate the process for an expat, someone that needs to transport their baby? Tell us a little bit about what service you offer them.
So the first thing I do is I make sure that I can actually move them from the place they're wanting to leave to the place they're wanting to go to. And again, it depends on the pet. So I've just recently been in contact with a lovely couple who need to move their dog from the US abroad, but they have a snub-nosed dog. So airlines do not like to take basically breeds that have breathing difficulties that are
right,
snub.
like bulldogs, the pugs.
That's it. Yeah. So in this case, it was a French bulldog, and so they were. Well, we want to fly the dog. Well, actually, this is going to be really, really difficult because so many airlines have restrictions. So the first thing I do is I check whether I can actually do it and what airlines are available to do it on. Then I check all of their health certificates, so their health documents. So what have they already had done? Have they had their updated vaccinations? Have they had their rabies? And I make sure that is in line. And then I get the relevant documentation sorted for the country that they're leaving, and I get the relevant documentation for the country that they're going to. And I have to liaise with the government. So for example, at the moment, I'm transporting a dog from the UK to America, and I have to do an export license from the UK, and I have to have the health certificate endorsed by the UK government to be able to transport the dog. So it's not just a case of I'm going to take my dog to the vet and I'm going to have this health certificate done. It really needs to be, everything needs to be put in line. And the difficulty is if you don't get the process right, you could arrive at your end destination and they could just turn around and say, no, it's not correct. Go back home.
No, and they return your pet.
They return your pet.
Wow, that's very interesting. That would be heartbreaking.
Yeah. It's can you imagine? And it can be something as simple as you got the rabies vaccination 2 weeks before you were departing, and if you were to go to Costa Rica, you can't do that. You need 30 days. So it can be something as simple as that can change everything.
Yes, and I just want to add, when we arrived in Mexico City, the vet inadvertently forgot to check off the parasite medication. The flea medicine, he forgot to check it off. And I am not going to go into the hell that we went through at the airport because they insisted. I said, but I give him tablets. He gets, oh no, it has to be signed off by a vet. And he had everything else. Everything was, I understand it's a nightmare. I mean, a lot of people think, oh, I'll just put him in my little carry case and go. But they, the authorities, right? They're the ones that kind of make it difficult. Yeah. And tell me, because I carried mine on board with me, so I wasn't really that concerned about him going as cargo, but could you just explain to me how that works? Because, if I had a larger dog, I probably couldn't bring him on the cabin. How is it for the pets and the owners, having to go that route when travel?
Thankfully, Travelers evolved quite dramatically. I think there was quite a lot of bad press, especially with certain American airlines, where there were really bad cases of dog neglect. But effectively, pretty much every airline that I know of is regulated by IATA, and they have to follow stringent IATA rules and regulations when transporting a pet. So most aircrafts now are temperature controlled in the cargo area, and there is a special section that the dogs go into. So there is lighting for them, there is air conditioning, it's pressurized. So yeah, it's a lot different than it was you know, back 20 years ago. A lot more responsibility is taken, and especially even the loading and unloading. So the way that it works is that the pilot is made aware that there is a live animal on board. They have that documentation, they check it off. Also, when you check in for your flight, if you're going, so the way that I do it is I book the dog as extra luggage, which is in cargo, and they have a special sticker that's attached to their boarding pass. So as soon as you go through, the aircraft staff are aware that you are that person with the animal on board. And for extra security for yourself, you could say to one of the stewards, can you just let the pilot know that my dog is on board? Just want to make sure that he's made aware, because he's the person that turns on all of the necessary things.
Oh, interesting. Okay,
to
make it comfortable in that area where they are. Okay, okay. Interesting, interesting. Yeah. So how are the owners? I mean, do you have a lot of anxious owners that, you know, because I would be one of them. I'd be just totally, you know, full of anxiety knowing that my pet was in the cargo. You know, I mean, is that normal, or are they allowed to be medicated, the pets? How are they, you know, prepared for the transport? Yeah.
So I think preparation is absolutely key. So you need to get a crate for your animal pretty much as soon as you know you're going, because if you can get them accustomed to the crate and get them used to that environment and a comfortable environment, that makes a huge, huge difference. I have a border terrier, and we have one of our crates set up as his bed for him because he likes that environment. It's calm, it's quiet, it's dark, but not, you know, black. So for a dog, they like confined areas because it gives them security and safety.
You know, that's interesting. I'm sorry to cut you off, but I noticed on your Facebook page, you did have a video about that. And I wanted to just kind of reiterate that. Me personally, I think that putting a dog in a cage is cruel, not cruel, but, you know, kind of inhumane, right? That they're feeling, oh, but what you're saying is true. As an animal, they don't think that way. It's calming for them.
Absolutely, yeah. And one of my my things is that when I have the dog, I crate train them from when they're a puppy, so that they have that quiet environment. When I first had my border terrier, he's my oldest dog, we had quite young children, and there was a lot of noise going around the house, and so the crate really was that safe area for him. I've had enough of these toddlers. I can't deal with it. Just I want my quiet space, and it was his space that my children knew they couldn't intrude. And he would take himself away and just have some quiet time. And yeah, it's very, for dogs especially, they like to have that environment. And so when you're taking your dog on a flight, if your dog isn't used to, or your cat isn't used to being in a confined area, there's loads of great tricks you can do just to get them used to that environment. So I transported a dog from the US to, from Singapore to the US. He was a Singapore special. He was from Singapore as a puppy. He was about 7 months old when we transported him. And the clients were fantastic. They bought a crate, but he was growing so fast that they had to upgrade it. But, you know, 2 months before they knew they were traveling, they had him in that crate. The door was always open, so the dog could come and go. Treats were put in, and the more that he got used to it, you know, when he first went into it, he wasn't happy at all. What is this? And then towards the end, he absolutely, you know, it was his safe haven. So getting your dog used to being in a crate is so important, dog and cat. And also, you can't medicate them unless there are medical reasons. You cannot sedate them because it can obviously impact their breathing, and heart rate, etc. So what you can do is give them St. John's wort. So, you know, humans take St. John's wort.
No kidding. What does that do for them?
Just calms them. So again, like with my border terrier, he's not fantastic with flying. He doesn't, you know, he doesn't love it. And he's quite an anxious dog. So about 4 days before we fly, I just give him in the morning and the afternoon a couple of drops onto his tongue of St. John's wort. And there's a specific St. John's wort for dogs you can get. And it just chills him out, just calms him down. So yes, it makes a big difference.
I'd have to buy gallons of that for my Chihuahua. I'd have to buy a big gallon jug to give him. This is really very interesting. Another question I wanted to ask you. So even, as we're traveling and we people that adopt pets when we go to other countries, do you think that we should just, like you say, just buy a crate anyway, to have the dog accustomed to it just normally, or even before we thought about traveling abroad, just have the dog accustomed to being in a crate no matter what, whether he is home or visiting other places? Should that be just a rule of thumb for an animal?
For me, definitely. Yeah, definitely. All of my dogs are crate trained. And my border terrier loves being in a crate. So he will be in it all the time. My other dogs take and choose it, but I have two Shiba Inus, and one of my Shiba Inus, she's pretty destructive at times. If she doesn't get a lot of attention, then she can be pretty destructive. So when I have to go out, I'll put the radio on for her and I'll put her in the crate because I know she's safe there. I know she can't get anything. I know she can't swallow anything. And she's very happy in it. She's very happy in it. They're all very content when they need to go in it. There is no issues with them at all. Yeah, I think it's really important because you never know, especially if you're traveling internationally, just to have your dog accustomed to it. I think is really, it just makes a big difference for them.
That's interesting. He's already going to be 5, and he's never been really crated. I think it would be very traumatic for him, but as you suggest, over a period of time, I could get him probably used to going in there, making it like his little casita. What are the most common pets that you have, and unusual ones? I know the dog is probably number one, but what are some of the other animals that you work with for traveling?
Well, predominantly dogs and cats, okay. Because of the method that I do, because like I said, I offer a cheaper option. So my background is actually in travel. So I've combined the two together. I find very, very well-priced flights, and I transport the pet with the owner. So unlike other pet relocation companies where they specify that they do cargo only, mine is very much no your extra baggage. It's still in the cargo area, just in a different section, and it's dealt with in a different way. So that's what I predominantly do. However, at the moment, we are trying to move 3 horses, which is a completely different ball game altogether.
How are they transported? Horses on planes?
Or horses on planes.
Wow. Now that's interesting. Wow.
And it's effectively like a dog crate, just a lot bigger.
Sure. Are there ponies? I mean, pony horses?
Horses, yeah. One of them is 15 hands, between 14 and 15 and a half hands.
Wow. That's interesting. Can you just share with us just an really interesting or funny story about travel with your guests, something that, I don't know, maybe people can write that and say, wow, I make sure that I'll never do this when I need to travel with my pet. Is there like a really unusual, I mean, do people ask you for like snakes or other rodents and things like that? I mean, do people actually ask for those type of, that transport of those type of pets?
So far, no. And to be honest, I think that's a very rare situation. I think that's more, I mean, you can transport any animal that you can think of. It can be transported, but you have to have specialist licenses to do that. So for example, with a snake, I wouldn't do that because I'm pretty sure I would need to have a special license to do that. And it has
different classes, right? Each animal is a different, okay.
Yeah, exactly. And a lot, so for example, let's take a snake. I'm trying to think of a country that wouldn't accept it. So if you were to bring in your pet snake to, I think it's Brunei. You can't take, there's a lot of animals that in that respect that you can't bring into certain countries. So I had to do the IATA live animals regulations to be certified, and effectively it tells you every country what animals they will and won't accept. So for a snake, you could import a snake if it was to go to a zoo, but you couldn't import it as your own pet. So yeah, a lot of countries have a lot of restrictions.
Yeah, I could imagine. So Elaine, I'm really excited that we had a chance to connect with you, and I want folks that that are, and I remember, I mean, I've been living abroad for many, many years, and almost every expat that I know, almost everyone had a pet that they needed to travel with. So it's very common, and we don't always get a lot of good information out there. And, you know, especially if you're in duress or you're in a situation where you've got to leave the country, you know, quickly, it's really helpful, I think, to have someone who can take you through that process. You know, I mean, especially if your head isn't straight and you've got other things going on, you know, transporting your pet is really, it can be very stressful. How can we connect with you for those that want to reach out? Because you it doesn't matter what country the person lives in, right? You handle transport from A to B anywhere.
I absolutely do. Yes, I absolutely do. So yeah, it doesn't matter where you're going from and where you're going to. You can find me on Instagram on Pet Relocation International. I'm on Facebook, and my website is petinternationalrelocation.com. So yeah, come find me.
Yeah, you are a very important person. You're a cool person for especially for expats, because you know, I'm sure you know, because you are a pet mommy, and these are, you know, they're like our family. And I feel that, you know, having someone that you can trust to take care of them and give them the utmost care, to me, it's really important. And knowing that, you know, when we get on the other side, you know, my pet didn't suffer a lot of stress, because I think that's what a lot of people are concerned about, the stress that
Yes.
that comes to pets.
Absolutely. And I think as well, you're juggling so many things when you're relocating internationally, aren't you? There's so many things you're having to think about, not just about the country you're leaving and the country you're going to, but the whole journey. It is incredibly stressful. You've got all of your, yeah, it's really, really difficult. So I think just to take that strain away and to know that everything is done for your pet, because your pet is like a child. They are so important. And it's funny, I'm bringing over a pet from the UK to Costa Rica. And the client was like, I was going to leave our dog in the UK because we're only on a 2-year assignment. He said, but I can't. We miss her so much. She's so important to us. So I think a lot of people as well think, oh, I can manage without my dog, it's okay. But actually, you really can't, because they're so important.
It's true. It's true. And before we go, I wanted to share with you and with everyone, just to, you know, it also, because my pet, he traveled with me in the cabin, but we started out our journey that day at like 5 in the morning, because we had to do, you know, we had to go from point A to point B to point C, and we had to change airports. And honestly, he was exhausted. You know, by the night, actually, when we took our last leg of the flight into Cancun, he was so tired that, this is funny, I wanted to tell you that, you know, he was in my lap at the time, and one of the flight attendants came by and said, oh, he's so cute. And he snarled at her, because he, at that point, was so exhausted. Yeah. It's 10:30 at night. And he was like, look, I'm just not having this. I don't know who you are. I just want to be where I'm going to be. And so I say all that to say that they do get stressed out, and they feel, you know, the journey. They feel that what you mentioned, the anxiety of, you know, because they're not knowing, where are we going? You know, why are you packing me up? Why are we going to these? Where are all these people? Who are what is going on? So it's very stressful for them. And I really appreciate you giving us this great information. I will leave all of your information below so folks can connect with you, and hopefully, you know, they will get good information on transporting their fur babies. And thank you so much, Elaine. I appreciate it.
You're so welcome.
Thank you.
Thank you.